the client can't afford the 10K. And so you scholarship them to support them and meet them in the middle at a $7,500 price point. There's generosity in the conversation, right? I'm really excited to be able to share with you guys how to handle objections. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, I've been able to help our clients generate millions of dollars worth of sales in the areas of consulting, coaching, services, done for you services, through the frameworks that we teach in sales. So every year prior to the last 2 years, I've been closing over $1 million with my own pen. And what that means is basically that I personally generate about $1 million in personal services through the sales processes that I'm going to share. And I'm not actually, I don't brand myself or consider myself a sales professional in the standpoint of my company is not a sales training company. What we are is we teach people how to scale their programs online. So I would really consider myself more of a digital marketer that is gotten really good at sales, more than I would consider myself like a sales trainer. But I've become an expert because I've been doing it for a decade. And I want to share with you the processes that we use to close our sales, because I think our closing rates are some of the highest in the industry. We close very high amounts, and we have a totally different philosophy on the closing process. So some of the things that I'm against, and I'm sure you guys are as well, is I'm completely against hard closing, especially when you're dealing with services, because you shouldn't have to convince somebody so hard about your service that is going to benefit them, right? So that's one thing that I believe. I think I am also selling to women. If you guys work with women in the room, they pick up on that very quickly, right? And so 80% of our client base, some seasons, 90% of our client base are women, and they are very in tune, and they can tell when you're trying to leverage their pain points against them to make a sale. So I'm very against using vulnerability against people to make the sale, meaning when they tell you what they're struggling with, you use that as a reason to sell. So it's about being able to make people feel safe, being able to have high connection and intimacy through the objection process, so that even when objections are coming, the connection stays rich and it never breaks. What that will allow you to do is when the safety is there, people can make really great decisions that feel good for you and feel good for them, right? And so it's about the longevity of your brand and your business too. So if you guys are excited for today's objection handling training, if I could just see some like a heck yeah in the chat, that would be great, so that I know we're ready to roll. All right, cool. I see Alicia, heck yeah. Eva's, heck yeah. Nick, Cody, yes. What's going on, Cody? Good to see you again. All right, Faye, yes. Greg, yes. Okay, great. Excellent. All right, so I want to start off, first of all, how many of you guys have offers that are service-based, like done for you? Does anybody here have done for you offers that you're promoting? If so, you could just wave at the camera or type it in the chat. Okay, great. How many of you have more of coaching that you're offering? You sell coaching packages. All right, great, excellent. And is anyone here consider themselves a consultant? Okay, some of you, I see that too. And some, there's a little bit of a hybrid. You go either or depending on the package. Okay, great. So one of the things that I found in the closing process is that when you're able to give somebody a deal on something, most of the time people will move forward when they feel like they're getting a deal, right? It's because, let's say, for example, you position your pricing for your offer at 10K, let's say, for example, but really you're wanting about 7,500. The client can't afford the 10K. And so you scholarship them to support them and meet them in the middle at a $7,500 price point. There's generosity in the conversation, right? So when you're able to work with the client around the pricing, it's instinctual for them to work with you to make the deal happen. And so I want to share this concept with you called floors, and it may completely shift everything. And this will kind of be the foundation for how we handle objections. So if I can share my screen here, perfect. I got this here. So to make numbers even here, I'm going to just use a 10K offer just because it'll make the math easy. So let's say, for example, you have a 10K offer right now. Okay, so let's say that this is the current offer. So we'll put offer price 10K. Most of the time, if you're pricing an offer at 10K, the real value of it is probably 15K, is most likely. But you're trying to create a price that works for your market and who you're targeting, for example. So the question becomes, okay, if they can't afford your 10K, what would be the floor, meaning the lowest you would be willing to go, where the deal would make sense for you, but it would also make sense for the client? So let's say, for example, you're willing to drop to 8K as your floor, where you would still be like, yeah, that's still a good deal. I have profit margin. I'm happy. I'm enrolling the client. I still feel good about it. They feel good about it, right? And so that becomes the deal room that you have to work with, okay? So what we want to do is we want to be able to have your retail value priced at 15K, because that's the actual value, most likely, of the service you're providing, okay? So when you sell your service and you share the price, we want to share this number. Because if you are dealing with someone who can actually afford the real value of it, you're going to get paid what your service is actually worth. But if you're dealing with somebody who needs a deal, either because they're that personality type, or they need a deal because they just can't make that and pay the real actual value, then you have some margin to work with. So you can always come down in your pricing, but you can't go up if your pricing is too low, right? So now you're able to restructure the deals in the objection process, which will stimulate more yeses. So this is a $7,000 wiggle room that you have to work with. So what do you think is going to happen when you're on calls? You're going to boost your conversions like crazy because you can work with the client. The biggest mistake I see with coaches, consultants, done for you services is they have this mindset: if you can't afford me, follow up with me when you have the money. Or let's stay in touch, or I'm sorry, unfortunately, this isn't going to work, right? In this economy where a lot of people's money is going out, expenses are going high, it's not sustainable because people need you to work with them. And this is a way to do it. So what I want to prove to you before we get into how we actually close is I want to prove to you that working with the clients and working with your pricing with floors will actually allow you to make more money. Okay, so let's say out of 10 clients, you're of the old mindset that says, I never lower my pricing for anybody. You either can afford me or you can't. So most likely at a 10K offer, you'll probably close about 20% of your leads. That's kind of standard across the board. So you made 2 sales times 10,000. So you made 20,000 in sales. With our process, we know that we're out of these 10, we're going to sell 1 at the retail value. So we have a 15K sale. We also know that we'll close 20% at the 10K value. So we're at 20K in sales. And then we know that there's going to be about 2 or 3 of those that are going to move at the floor pricing. It's going to get them to say yes at the 8K level. So we'll add another 2 at 16K. So this is the floor. This is the offer price that you were originally at, and this is the retail. So if we add up our sales, we're at 51,000 versus the 20K. You see how we just doubled the conversions because of how the offers are structured. So what that means is that if you can set up a system where people can come in at different price points, you're going to have higher conversions. So this goes against another school of thought. Well, is it fair that somebody could pay for the same service and pay a different price? Well, let me ask you this. When you go to college and you're in a university, does everybody pay the same price? No. You're sitting next to somebody, you paid 30 grand a year to go, and they're paying 5 grand a year to go. And the person next to them is paying nothing. And you all get the same education and the same opportunity, not a single benefit more. Why? Because the entire education system is built off of what you can afford financially. That's how the entire education system works. So when you go on an airplane and you're going from LA to New York, does everybody pay the same price? No. Does everybody talk to each other? Oh, what did you pay? Oh, that's not fair. I want to go get a refund. We're going to the same place and we're sitting in the same seating section. No. When you go buy a car and you got the same car as somebody else and you paid $5,000 more and they paid $5,000 less, you don't go back to the dealer and say, hey, that's not fair. This guy paid $5,000 less than I did. No, you don't do that. Because business is about coming to terms that you both agree upon and move forward together. So in your business, you should be the bank and you should be able to finance plans accordingly, depending on the clients that you're working with. And by doing this, you're able to not only customize the amount they're paying you, but you're also able to discuss the terms, meaning you might finance somebody longer. They might not be able to do your payment plan of 2 payments of 5K, but what you are willing to do is you can extend it out a little bit further and say, look, I'm going to extend it a little bit further beyond the terms of service, and we'll just add on what we call our financing fee for an extra $500 to extend it out to give you the time to pay off the additional amount beyond our services, right? Those little things matter. Right? And you have agreements and contracts to solidify that to ensure that they are paying that bill. Okay. So I wanted to set that as the foundation because we use a lot of one-time offers in our objection handling that allow us to get the deal. Like we'll turn a no into a yes within a matter of 1 minute. So are we all on the same page here before we move forward? All right. So let's get into the actual objection process. So last time I came on to train, I taught the 7-step sales framework, and where we left off is I didn't teach you guys the objection. So if you missed that and you want to see how we close, you can request that recording. I'm sure it's in the portal that you guys have in FlowChat. So now we're in the objection phase, which all of you get to when you've now got to the price and you reveal the price. Type in the chat, what are the common objections you guys all face? Type it in the chat. Type in what people tell you when you reveal the price. Okay, too expensive. Can't afford it. Need to think about it. Don't got it. Can't afford it. Can't afford it. Need to chat with a partner. Great. Or a spouse, right? Need to see what the ROI will be. Need to pray on it. These are great. Love that, especially Alicia. I need to pray on it. That's a big one, right? Okay, great. So the way that we handle objections is we have a framework that we use, and it's the first thing that we do, which you guys have all know already, is you acknowledge the objection. Hey, I totally hear you, right? But where we're different in how we handle the objection is we believe in a no resistance methodology, which basically means that we agree with the client's objection no matter what it is. So let's take the objection. I would like to get started. What are we in, May? I'd like to get started in July. How many of you guys have heard that before? This sounds good, but I want to get started in July. We'll say, hey, that's great. I think that's actually a great idea for you to get started in July. The only thing is that if we wait until July, we probably wouldn't be able to see results until about maybe September. So if we were able to possibly find a way to get started now, we could see results by July. So would you be open to exploring how we could start sooner so that we don't delay results? So do you see how there was no friction in that answer? What rookies do is they'll say, well, you said you wanted to grow your business, so why would you want to wait till September? That is like going like this. You're here and they're here. They go this way on you. I want to wait till July to get started. And you're like, Well, why would you do that? Because you said you wanted to get results. So the tension starts to build in the relationship because you're questioning their decision making. When this tension breaks and it snaps from too much tension from objection handling, you cannot recover because the trust is broken. So instead what we do is we always go with the client. Hey, I want to wait till July to get started. Great. I think that's a great idea. I think you should wait till July. So you see, I'm walking with them. And then what leaders do is they bring them back. The only thing is if we wait till July, we're not going to see results till September. So what if we could be able to somehow find a way to get started now? So that way we'd be able to get results by July and not delay till September. What are your thoughts on that? So do you see how there was never a resistance? The trust was never broken. And now they're thinking, So the framework is we acknowledge, we agree, we present a new idea, and we re-ask to see if they're open to the idea, not open to getting started, because we don't need them to say yes to getting started. We need them to say yes to the idea. And that's another rookie mistake, is that in the closing process, so many entrepreneurs are trying to get the main commitment when they just need a yes to the idea. So if they say, no, I'm not really, open to, Terry says, what if they say no again? Great. No, I'm not really open to getting started because I just have too much, going on. I'd have to wait till July. Great. Totally understand. You see, I'm with them. You see that body language and that posture? Great. Totally understand. No resistance. So now in the back of my mind, I know there's most likely a financial problem because I just shared with them how to bring their results sooner and presented a good idea. So this is a financial issue. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to the most powerful close that is very hard to resist. And it's called the money combination close. Okay. This is original content. This is something that came to me back in 2017 that just boosted our sales to the roof. So the money combination close, the reason I named it that is because, the locks in high school where you turn to the left, you turn to the right, you turn to the left, then you pull and it unlocks the lock. Remember those locks in high school? Okay, so there's a number that every person on that call is willing to spend with you. It's our job to unlock it. And that number is subconscious and it's also conscious, meaning that they kind of know what their budget is and what they can afford. And if you're outside of that budget, they start telling you things like, I want to think about it, or can I get started later? Or I have too much going on right now. So I already know that. So I go into the mindset of, I got to find the number that you're willing to spend. Okay. So what we got to do is we say, okay, I totally understand you want to wait till July. I have a question. If I could somehow work with you on the pricing, would that be something you'd be open to exploring a bit further? Well, yeah, sure. Hardly anyone ever says no to that question, by the way. So what does that tell you? It's a money thing, right? So this is the line to memorize. If I could work with you on the pricing, would that be something you'd be open to exploring? And so they go, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Okay, great. So I have an idea. I know you wanted to get started in July. Okay. So I know our program is 15K. What if I were to do something crazy for you? And just for getting started now, I'll take 3K off the program, right? And then we can put that down as a deposit. We could do a deposit, and then we could either get started now or we can get started in July. But just for moving forward, I would be willing to scholarship you just for moving into the next step. It's really generous of you, but right now I just can't do it. There's just no way right now I could do it. I just have too much on my plate. Totally hear you. I'll tell you what, I want to do something crazy for you, but this is only between you and me. I just ask that you just keep this between us because there are people that are paying full price for our program. But I'm going to do something crazy for you. If you're willing to get started right now, I would be willing to take 5K off the program. And all I would ask is that you can put a deposit down of 2,500, and then we can work out the monthly payments over X amount of time. And in exchange, all I would ask is that we can, you'd be able to let me know here on this call if it's possible. So what do you say? Would you be open to jump in and give it a shot? Are you serious? You would take 5K off of your program? Yes. Okay, I'm in. Let's do it. Boom. So do you see what was our original offer price? 10K. But do you see how positioning it at the 15K level, you took 30% off the retail value, but the entire time the offer was 10K. You see the power in that? So now, because of your extended generosity, because you are leading from, hey, let me give to you, because your program really is worth that 15K, right? Because of your leading with generosity, it's human nature for reciprocity to kick in and say, hey, you're willing to work with me, I'm willing to work with you. Let's do this, right? Because guess what? No entrepreneur is doing that. No entrepreneur is fighting for them to get started. Instead, what the entrepreneurs are doing today is saying, oh, well, unfortunately, I will have to just follow up until July. Well, guess what happens in July? Their business may have gone down. Something could have happened. Now they forgot about you. They hired somebody else. You lost them. So you have one shot on this call before the law of diminishing intent kicks in, which says the longer somebody goes without making a decision, the least likely they are to move forward with you. Their intention goes down. So I know that that law works against me if we do not make a deal happen right then and there. So the way that you take a no to a yes is restructure the deal and you present a new offer.